Buried beneath a field in North Yorkshire lay the shattered remains of a forgotten Iron Age elite. Discovered near the village of Melsonby, only a short distance from Stanwick Iron Age fortifications, the vast stronghold associated with the Brigantes and Queen Cartamandua, the Melsonby Hoard is now being described as the largest collection of Iron Age metalwork ever discovered in Britain. More than 900 objects have so far been identified. Chariots and wagons torn apart and burnt, elaborate horse harnesses, weapons, cauldrons, mirrors, Mediterranean coral, and luxury items linked to a world stretching far beyond northern Britain. Archaeologists now believe many of these objects were deliberately destroyed during a massive funerary rite, possibly connected to a powerful Brigantian ruler at the very moment Rome was conquering southern Britain. But the hoard also tells a much larger story. The objects reveal connections reaching across Iron Age Europe, from northern Britain to Denmark, the Mediterranean and beyond, challenging older ideas that power and wealth in Iron Age Britain were concentrated only in the south. Last year, while the Yorkshire Museum was still fighting to secure the hoard and prevent it from being lost to private collections, I was invited behind the scenes to see part of the discovery and was even given the chance to hold one of the ancient pieces for myself. The fundraising campaign succeeded, and tomorrow the hoard finally goes on public display for the very first time. But today I've been invited back for a private preview and a guided tour through some of the collection's most enigmatic objects with one of the museum's curators. So strap yourselves in and join me as we explore the Melsonby Hoard. Hello, Croeso Fulcher, welcome back to the channel, Old Boy here, and today I'm in beautiful York because I've got another little sneak preview to show you. So I don't know if you remember a while back I did a video on the Melsonby Hoard. For those of you that haven't seen it, the Melsonby Hoard was the largest Iron Age hoard that was ever discovered in the UK. It was found at Melsonby near Stanwick, so this is Brigantes territory. And the hoard contained remains of chariots, four-wheeled wagons, spears, a mirror, a wine-mixing vessel, a cauldron, and most interestingly, it seems to have been ritually deposited or ritually destroyed. So the Yorkshire Museum was successful, and they acquired the Melsonby Hoard, and it goes on display to the general public tomorrow. However, I've been invited over there today to get a little sneak preview. So that's where we're going now.
So this is what we affectionately call the block. It's a group of 88 objects that are still corroded together. This is only about 10% of the total hoard in this block, and it was actually found separately from the other over 700 objects. So it was buried, wrapped, the objects were tangled together intentionally. They were then wrapped in textile or furs and placed into a ditch. The rest of the material was placed into a separate ditch, not wrapped, and that material had been sort of heated, burned, and bent out of shape. So these two groups are treated slightly differently. And it's that different treatment that's meant that the block has sort of, over time, corroded together in such a way that conservators weren't able to excavate it further without doing permanent damage. Absolutely. So What we have instead is this tantalising block where you can see objects peeking through the surface. And we're lucky in that technologies like CT scanning exist. And so we're able to see in layers what lies inside. And researchers are carefully working through those scans to try and identify everything.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not easy work when you've got a huge lump to work with.
Absolutely not. I mean, we're showing some of the CT scans on gallery, and I can't tell what most of the objects in there are. So
it looks like a big mix, doesn't it? You've got like a spearhead, you've got some decorative pieces like a boar's head.
Absolutely, yes. So it's there's certainly parts of horse harness. There's parts of vehicles. So we've got a linchpin from a tyre. There might be a war trumpet inside. There's there's some mysterious tubes that's showing up on the scan. But I mean, as far as I know, I could name probably 5% of the objects peeking through the surface here. What else lies inside is still to be determined.
Yeah, so still a mystery of sorts, but
absolutely,
it's taken a centerpiece here in your display, and it was very incredible when you revealed it before. The big reveal was nice.
It was a very exciting moment, and I breathed a big sigh of relief when we got it into the case, nice and safe.
I bet. Well, yeah, I'd love to see, just hear you talk briefly about some of the items you've got here, just so the viewers, just to whet their appetite a little bit.
I'll do a lightning fast tour of some of the star objects that we have in each section. So in our feast section we have this wine mixing bowl. Doesn't look like much at the moment because it's still wrapped in this conservation bandaging plaster, and that's because it's so incredibly fragile. It's actually in many pieces, so we've chosen the 3 most substantial pieces, but there's lots more in a box downstairs.
So more to be with.
Pieced together, yes. But what you can see is that this disc on top would have been a lid, probably.
Okay, yeah.
And we have this decorative face that would have adorned the edges of it. This is a local style of decoration, but actually the vessel itself is most similar to a lebes, which is a type of wine mixing bowl for mixing flavours into wine that is only found really in Etruscan parts of Italy. So it's a very tantalising hint of those Mediterranean connections that the people living in Iron Age North Yorkshire had with the wider world.
So that's really fascinating, actually, because I think I was just reading about how before the Greeks expanded into areas like Massalia, modern-day Marseille, that the Etruscans were primarily trading in that kind of region until the Greeks kind of took over that trade. So it's interesting to see what could have transpired during this period of time then.
Absolutely, it raises all sorts of questions about how did this influence and this style reach Britain, reach the north of Iron Age Britain, particularly with this local decorative element mixed in as well. This seems to not be a vessel that was brought, so where did they see these vessels? How did they find out about them to then recreate them locally? Fascinating.
So it was made in this country but based on that style?
Probably, and that's based on the fact that these human faces are quite a local decorative style.
I mean, that's interesting as well, because I mean, I know the shield's over there, but I noticed you've used the Pocklington shield as kind of like a frame of reference for the shield boss as well.
Absolutely. So at the moment, we have no real idea what the shield would have looked like, because we have the shield boss, we have some fragments of metalwork that might have been part of the spine of the shield. There's a couple of curved lines on the boss that hint at decoration, but whether there's more of the shield in the hoard that hasn't yet been identified, whether it would have been mostly made of wood or a material that hasn't survived. These are all possibilities that we are yet to fully explore. So we shamelessly use the Pocklington shield to help people imagine what it might have looked like.
I think it's good. It's a good thing to do. I think it's. It helps me visualise it certainly.
Well, and it's a beautiful local example as well. So we have here as well, a cauldron, which is the second of the feasting vessels that were found in the hoard. This was inverted, placed on top of the larger deposit, and then a boulder was thrown in to cave in the base. So that's why it's quite so trashed.
So ritually destroyed,
Yes,
possibly.
I think so, yeah. So we know that Iron Age people definitely intentionally destroyed goods like this as part of important ceremonies. So that makes the most sense to me as an explanation. This was intentional, not accidental destruction. What's lovely about this object is that in the bottom you can see these fish that are just swimming around. They're really hard to spot. I think if you try and spot the tail fins, you can do best, but we've got lots of images. Archaeologists didn't actually notice these until they CT scanned the object.
Yes.
And then they leapt out. Yeah.
Roughly where are they?
So if you just look at this sort of a crescent-shaped disc.
Yeah, in the centre.
In the centre, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then
So
they sort of, when you spot the tail, you can kind of just see how they connect.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
It's like a little hand, isn't it? Just above that
Absolutely.
curve, yeah.
So when this was filled with a liquid, it would have looked a bit like they were swimming.
That's incredible. That.
I know. So we don't know what this would have contained.
Yeah.
Possibly water, possibly a local beer. Which might have mimicked the appearance of river water and added to that illusion. Or maybe food. The reason that archaeologists are leaning away from the idea of perhaps a stew or something is that people in Iron Age Britain don't seem to have eaten fish. There's not evidence for it in their diets.
That's interesting, isn't it? Being an island.
It's fascinating. So one possible reason for that is that there's a theory that cremated remains were scattered into rivers, and that perhaps fish were believed to be embodiments of ancestors.
Yeah.
So
it's
have
in the Celtic mythology, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Quite heavily featured.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So to have fish in this feasting vessel is a little bit of a contradiction of terms. So yet another mystery within the Melsonby Hoard.
It's fascinating that they've gone to the effort of putting that in there. So it's obviously symbolic in some ways, isn't it?
Yes, these are. It's rare to find a fish motif in Iron Age art, so this is a special
I guess
object.
This is kind of like a recreation.
Yeah, lovely opportunity for people to have a feel of them without poking the object itself.
That's a great idea.
So we're just heading into the festival section, and there's no real individual star objects here because this is a massive material. This is the vast majority of the hoard, and it's enough vehicle parts for at least 7 wagons or chariots.
7 wagons.
Yeah,
Chariots.
and then elaborate, ornate, oversized horse harnesses, really decorative, far bigger than the ponies that would have been wearing them.
Yeah,
so really,
so they're oversized and it's kind of like a display talk about them.
Absolutely, these animals were dressed to impress.
Yeah.
This is the vast majority of the material that's in the hoard. And there's evidence within it that at least 2 of the vehicles were wagons.
So that's like 4 wheels as opposed to
4-wheeled,
2.
not
Yeah.
2. And so when we say wagon, it's not a kind of farm vehicle as we'd used to think of it. It's more a kind of processional vehicle.
Yeah.
In Denmark, they're included in really high status burials.
Like a true home son.
Yes.
Chariot kind.
So they're really, we've got an illustrator to try and recreate some of their splendour, but they would have been really decorated vehicles and really heavy duty vehicles as well, so they could carry quite a hefty weight. And so to have the first evidence of these wagons from Iron Age Britain is really exciting and quite a hard story to tell when you're just looking at a piece of.
I know, yeah. So these are kind of like axle. Were these part of the wheel?
So these are nave bands, so they would have, would have decorated parts of the wheels. So the copper ones, I mean, these are all the copper alloy ones. Some of them, one of them, this larger one, you can see on an X-ray over there, has decorative details that are hidden under the corrosion. These were kind of in matching sets certainly a matching set of 4 within there, which adds to that wagon interpretation. But it's interesting, these kind of gleaming copper alloy ones would have been on the outside of the vehicles, but we've also got iron nave bands that would have been on the inside of the wheels for structural support. So everything that was on show was decorated.
So you've got the decorative facade and the structural.
Absolutely.
Internal.
Yeah.
When you say copper alloy, are we talking tin alloy, or is it arsenic?
I don't know the exact alloy, to be honest, but they would have been a gleaming bronzy colour. They would not have been this green colour that we're seeing now.
Of course.
We talked about
what's this? Just very quickly.
No,
what's
absolutely.
this little item at the back on the?
This
a wooden piece?
So that's decorated bone. You've zoomed in on our mystery objects.
Right. Okay. So that's the mystery object.
Yes. So this is the only bit of decorated bone in the assemblage, as far as I know. But it hints at some of the objects that, or some of the material culture, I guess, that was destroyed and lost to time, to that burning process.
Isn't it? When you think about what is potentially not survived.
Absolutely. So we've got this decorative bone strip. Perhaps it came from furniture, boxes, things that were transported on these vehicles. We've got this beautiful, almost lacework metal panel that, again, in our artist reconstructions or artist imaginations, I suppose, we've sort of put them decorating the vehicles, but they also, perhaps it was a chest that it was decorating, or some piece of furniture. And we have a drop handle that doesn't look like much, this sort of loopy handle. So that is just the one of them. It perhaps came from a box, perhaps came from a bit of furniture, or one possible theory that's emerging is that it might have been used to carry a helmet, because some helmets have handles on them. We've got there's so many questions that still remain with this hood, and that's what's so exciting. Absolutely, it's a long process.
I think these, I got to hold one of these last time. I think Adam let me hold one of these pieces, I believe, last time.
Absolutely.
So these are fittings on the side of the chariot, aren't they?
So these are all the horse harness pieces. Yes. So these would have been what the ponies were decked out in, and you can just see how. I mean, almost every part of them is decorated in that coral that would have been a sort of pinky red colour, and they were gleaming. A lot of them were gilded or silvered, and it's the bridle bits that really tell us how oversized they were, because if you focus on the kind of middle bits, that's what went in the animals' mouths. And so that, so that gives you a sense of how.
And that's this bit here at the back.
In the centre, that join in between the two big circles, that was the part that went into the animal's mouth. And this tells us a lot. This tells us, firstly, that as far as bridle bits go, they're quite a gentle method. So Iron Age people would have had to work closely with these animals to train them, and we're not using harsh techniques. Which is reassuring.
It is, isn't it?
But it also shows us that these ponies were relatively small. You know, they weren't the size of modern horses that we think of, but the cheek rings were huge. So they were dressed almost like Shire ponies. They were meant to be visually spectacular.
And this has got the coral in as well, hasn't it? The Mediterranean coral.
It has, So no expense was being spared in decorating these animals and these vehicles.
Some of the pieces as well are so thin, the metal. It looks very delicate, like this bit here.
Absolutely,
so there's clearly a great metal skill going on here. A skilled metal worker. That's
absolutely. The hours of labour and skill and training that would have gone into extracting the ores, refining them, and then crafting these incredible objects, and the materials that decorate them is unimaginable, really. And it's highly likely that a lot of this was produced locally to Melsonby as well.
That's incredible.
Sure. We've talked about the shield. Can I talk about the mirror? My favourite.
Yeah, the mirror will be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, because this must be the first example, is it? Is one of the
well,
examples
there's lots of examples of mirrors, but this one's a bit unusual. So we find Iron Age mirrors in elite female burials in East Yorkshire, as well as around the rest of the country.
Is that associated with the Parisian?
Yes, yeah. So some of those burials, Aris culture burials as well, yeah, do have mirrors. It's likely that this was quite beautifully decorated. It's just we can't yet see it underneath the corrosion. So that might be another piece of information that emerges over time. And for me, it's the inclusion of this mirror in the hoard that really strongly speaks to a powerful Iron Age woman. Also, blue glass is associated with female power as well.
Associated with magic and ritual as well in some of the contexts too, right?
Yes, so the mirror would have shown quite a distorted image of the viewer, and these were rare, unusual objects. They were not easily accessible to people, and so it's the latest theories are that they were probably mystical objects. They were objects that perhaps offered a window into the afterlife or the future. And perhaps this was a skill that was developed by these Iron Age women over their lifetimes. And so it was something that they gained access to in their later years. And so that would be buried with them, or possibly in this case involved in a funeral pyre perhaps, or some other important ceremonial role surrounding the inclusion of this mirror in this hoard.
Yeah, I think some of the only texts I've seen about mirrors are in the Greek magical papyri and in the writings of Apollonius of Tyana, where they're using it for divination, which is obviously associated with the females in the historical records.
Yeah, so
I think that adds up with what
it absolutely does, and it's a shame, really, that to us nowadays, it's a shame that Iron Age people didn't leave written records. So the archaeology is really the only evidence we have for how they understood the world, how they lived their lives, and what was important to them. We have Roman records, but those need to be taken with a hefty pinch of salt. They very much had their own agenda, their own bias, particularly when portraying women. So, yes, but we do have Roman writings about Iron Age beliefs. How far those can be believed, I think, is still open to question. But objects like this mirror can help us unpick some of what might have been important to the Iron Age people living in North Yorkshire.
Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Lovely to meet you.
If discoveries like the Melsonby Hoard fascinate you, then much of my own research has focused on the wider trade networks that connected Britain to continental Europe and the Mediterranean long before the Roman conquest. My upcoming book explores the Bronze Age tin and amber routes that linked Britain to the wider ancient world. The same networks that later Greek authors like Pythias of Massalia would encounter in their Iron Age forms centuries later. Drawing directly from archaeological evidence, classical sources, and modern academic research, the book traces the movement of tin from Britain into the Mediterranean, as well as the amber routes stretching south from the Baltic and the maritime corridors that connected these distant regions together. In addition to this, the book also includes my own translations and analysis of the surviving Greek texts relating to Pythias, presented alongside the original ancient Greek, with linguistic breakdowns and commentary exploring how the ancient world understood Britain and the northern seas. Every section is fully sourced and referenced, with page citations throughout, allowing readers to follow the evidence directly for themselves. If that sounds interesting, there'll be a pre-order link pinned in the comments and more information down in the description below. Okay, so there you go. I hope you all enjoyed it. I just want to say a big thanks to the Yorkshire Museum, as well as the curators who spoke to me today. Thank you so much for the invitation and for giving me your time. And to everyone who is in York, I would urge you to go and check it out, because it really has got some very interesting pieces there, and it really is an enigmatic find. And hopefully only more information will be revealed as time goes on. So, Thanks once again for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Old Boy out.